Hello. All right, so we're just getting settled here. You guys ready? Let me show you some supplies while we're waiting for some other people to jump on. Oh, Nancy made it. Welcome, Nancy. You figured it out. I'm so glad. Hello. Hi. Hello, Clarks. Hi, Pace family. Happy spring to you, Miss Kathy. I love that you come on here every day. That's awesome. Okay, so did you see my supply list, everyone? Oh, hello, Caleb and Eliana. I hope I'm pronouncing her name right. Okay, so let's just go over some supplies first. And if in case you missed that little post yesterday, so today we're going to be working on, we're going to draw a little chameleon. Hello, Duncan family. Okay. And the fun part about this is I'm going to do a guided drawing, but for the older kids, you can elaborate, draw more details. Maybe you have an iPad next to you that you're not watching Facebook and you can pull up some images of chameleons or another animal and you can draw what you want and then use these watercolor techniques we're going to go over to do your own design, okay? So you'll need a piece of paper, preferably watercolor paper. If you don't have it, that's okay. You could still do a drawing and you could color it with crayons or you could color it with markers. You will notice a big difference in how the watercolors work in watercolor paper versus regular paper. But I wanted to kind of get on here, and yeah, the other day we worked with acrylics when we painted our gnome, and then I wanted to show some watercolor techniques, kind of going through our supply list that I provided earlier when I first decided to do this, so that you guys can know how to use these supplies in creating your own art at home. So, but as we talked about before, we're using what we have, and so just use what you have and be creative. So we both have some watercolor paper. I have a Sharpie, and I do have a little watercolor brush, just an inexpensive one. The one that comes with your watercolor palette is fine. I'm gonna be using my good old Crayola, which I actually love, and Jilly's gonna use her can't speak. Did you notice Jilly did chalk in her hair? She's been dying to put color in her hair. Oh, good. I'm so glad I'm pronouncing her name. I always want to make sure she's living her best life, being able to color her hair at home. She's going to use her Michael's set. And then we're going to do something in a couple minutes. We've got a good amount of people on here. I'm actually, since we're using watercolor, I'm going to kind of take you for a phone ride. And we're going to focus from above, looking down. Since I can do it, babe. You'll be able to see the watercolor. So much easier, because with acrylic it's easier. I can still like paint backwards and let you see, but the watercolor, as you know, has water and it might drip a little bit. So I think you'll have a better feel for it if I show you our project instead of from above instead of from front on. Okay, that's okay, Heidi. Thanks for checking in. We'll see you this afternoon. So I uploaded the videos to my YouTube. So if you have families and friends that want to do these projects but are not Facebook users, you can send them over to my YouTube page. And that link is further down on my page on Facebook. Okay, you guys ready to take a little ride with my camera? You guys are the best. Okay, so I also had mentioned some optional supplies, and those are, I have a little bit of salt here. I just had Himalayan salt in my kitchen, but kosher salt would work. Even table salt, you'll notice a more dramatic effect. I'm gonna show you a couple little tricks with our salt and watercolor. And then the other thing, which all of us seem to have these days, is some isopropyl alcohol. And there's some other tricks you can do with that as well. So we'll show you that as we go along, okay? But if you don't have them, no big deal. And then of course you need a tub of water.
They said we're good.
You guys are good? All right. I'm going to rely on Jilly for my commentary because my technology guy went on a run with his sister, which is good. Ooh, and I can even put this up here and you'll be able to see both. Ah, check it out, everybody. All right, so we're going to be drawing and on our paper in a second. There's a couple things I like to do first when I'm getting ready to do a watercolor project, and that is to prime my palette. As you know, if you're using a pan, they're kind of dry when you first start, so I like to give each of the colors I'm going to be using some drops of clear water, fresh water in the beginning, just to, I call it priming my palette, and this is going to help soften up these paints before we start going along.
Mine isn't quite working.
It's okay. If you had a dropper, or sometimes when I'm in my studio, I use a spray bottle of water, or if I'm in the classroom, I always have a spray bottle of water, and I go around and give all the kids a good spritz of water.
Their palette, not them.
What?
I said the palette, not them.
Oh yeah, well, the kids have to watch out. Sometimes I get a little feisty, and I do give them a little spritz of water.
Nah.
Okay, gently do it because you're spraying everywhere, babe. She is over here priming like a maniac.
Well, it's hard to get mine.
So, there we go. Almost ready. Okay? And then, when you're using, if you're using watercolor paper, I'm using that Canson that's my favorite. There are two sides to your paper. One, which is always the downside in the packet, is a bit smoother, and the top is a little bit bumpy or rough, and that is called, what's that called, Julie?
The tooth.
The tooth. The tooth side, and we want to use the little bit rough side, the tooth side, to paint on, and the reason it's called tooth is because it grabs onto that paint when you're painting, and it just makes it a nicer finished piece, and your watercolor will work better. It's just meant to be used that way, okay? So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to draw our chameleon. And so I am going to go ahead and draw with my Sharpie. I think it's totally fine to do it that way. Jilly's going to go in with her pencil. But I do want you to go over your pencil lines with your Sharpie so that you can get some good emphasis. But we're going to start off with the head, and I'm going to think about my head being right here. And the reason I like to start off with my head is so that I make sure I'm starting off using a good amount of space on my piece of paper, because the chameleon is the star of the show. And so I want him to be the biggest, most important part. So I'm going to come around here and do a head. I'm going to start right here, and if you're looking at an image, you could do that shape if you're doing a different creature. So I'm coming, see how I have that little wobbly part? I'm coming up and over to the left, and then that's going to be his mouth, and then I'm going to bring it down and join. So that's the beginning of our head. Hello, Carollos. Does that mean Tanner and Emma are watching? Hi, Miss Stacy. All right. And once you get this drawn, let's give him a nice big chameleon eye. Mine's looking like he's much happier than this guy, doesn't it?
It's gonna make mine happy.
I wonder why mine's happier. Probably because in Northern California, the sun's out today.
Oh, I thought because you put a little scoopy-doopy.
Well, that's why his facial expression changed. I'm sorry if you keep hearing Rugby cry, because my other two kids are out on a run and doing their exercising, and so they took Piper, the other dog, and Rugby is in the depths of despair. Even though He hates running. He won't even go. He'd get out on the side, he gets out in the driveway and then sits down and tries to come home if you're wearing running clothes. But he still feels left out and he's a big baby, so if he cries every once in a while, sorry about that. Okay, so let's come and do the body. So they kind of have a little bit of a hunchback, and so sometimes I like to draw it with my finger first to kind of give myself a guide. And so I'm gonna start right here at the top of the head, and I'm gonna come around, and if I accidentally go off the page, that's okay. That makes our artwork more interesting. Okay? I'm just doing right now the hump part.
Oh.
It's okay, you're doing it in pencil, it's fine. Because I want to do a branch too. So I kind of did a big curve for his back, is where I did. We're going to do a branch and his legs first. So since I'm using a Sharpie, I don't want to cover up those parts. So I've got his hump of a back. I'm going to put his front arm, see right here? Let me move these. Right here we've got his arm. So I'm going to, it's almost like a bubble T that's upside down, if you see that. So we're not doing a lot of details for his, where he clamps on the branch. But if you want to, this is your artwork, you do that. And then he's gonna come over here, the front part of his arm. Jilly's is small. And then we're gonna come back here, and again, we're gonna do this T, and then a little bit of a balloon coming out of it. Just like that, okay? So we've done the head, the hump for the back, the front leg, and the back leg. If you want to do some details with toes, if you've got images you're looking at, that's totally fine. Or keep it simple like I am. Okay? And then we're going to come up here. Let's do the branch next. Yeah, so I'm going to come up here to the left side, and the branch is going to come down like that. So I'm going to start up here, maybe kind of where his mouth is, and I'm doing the top of the branch, and I'm going to come here to his first little toe. I'm going to stop. I'm going to hop over his foot. I'm going to come here and hop over his foot again. And then I'm gonna come down to the bottom of the page. Do we have any questions? I'm glad you get to join us too, Tanner and Emma. I'm gonna bring this to that, yeah, his little back. And then we can come down, and remember, branches are kind of lumpy and bumpy and have lots of good texture, so we're just gonna kind of wiggle our way down to the bottom of the page. Just like that. I'm just kind of watching Jilly as a guide of how people are catching up, because Rugby, you're okay. I'm scared he's going to make my cord fall. Come here.
Bubby, come here.
All right, he's down here now.
Come on, Bubba.
Getting a hug. Consoling him. Okay, keep drawing, Boo. Oh, Grace Abate's on here.
Hi, Grace.
Okay, so here we go. So now we need to do his belly and bring his tail around, okay? So I'm gonna come up here, the back part of his jawline, and I'm gonna make sure I keep that leg inside his body. I'm gonna come in here for his belly, hop over his leg. I'm gonna stop at the branch, I'm gonna hop over, and then I'm gonna give it good curl. And then I'm going to come down here to this part, hop over the branch. There we go, we have a tail. Now, we just need to give him, oh, see, knocked over a plant, it's fine. These spikes on him, okay? It's fine. We're having some puppy drama here. And then I'm gonna come along his back and do some spikes as well. Is anybody else doing a different kind of creature? Animal? And you notice I'm keeping my lines. This is, you know, big and bold. I'm not coloring in any with a Sharpie in black because we are going to be using our watercolors to paint all that in. Now I'm gonna make some branches for some interest. So I'm gonna come here, do a nice big leaf, because chameleons are a bit small, right? So I want to let my viewer of my art know that by making my leaves a bit bigger. And I might do some veins here. Maybe over here. One here. So Jilly, let me show there's yours. So she did hers a little bit smaller, but you can see that she did hers in pencil, and now she's going over it in that Sharpie to give it that emphasis before we paint. And then you want to tell them why we're using Sharpie, Jilly, instead of just a plain old black marker when we're painting?
Because it's permanent.
It's permanent. So when we're going to go in with the watercolors, they are going to activate anything that's not permanent. So we want to use a Sharpie so that we don't make all of our black lines bleed when we go to paint it. I think I'm going to add some leaves coming in up here too. Maybe he's kind of tucked in there. Coming off the bottom of my page. Who knows some facts about chameleons that they want to share?
I know one.
What?
They can rotate their eyes all around.
Yes. That is creepy.
Some can change colors too.
Okay. I'm stopping right here, Heather. I know I do it a little bit faster, but we'll catch up. Jilly says, thank you, Miss Kathy. My little fan up here that I like to speed things along with. I'm gonna load up Jilly's colors. So, as you know, what's some other facts about chameleons, friends? That they can change colors, and there's many different colors that they can be. I have a couple pictures of chameleons we can share on my iPad while we're waiting. What?
Do you want to tell them to step where to erase all the pencil lines?
So Jilly is going to now erase all her pencil lines and show you how she does that. It can really be with, I'm not a big fan of the red eraser, but if that's all you've got, go ahead. Here I've just Googled some photos for inspiration. So she's gonna do that. I will move this up here so you guys can still see it. And this might have some reflection. There we go. Let's see how that is. Oops.
Nope.
Technology fail. I love this guy. Ooh, look at him. These are all fun. So you can see the variety that these creatures come in.
Hold it up higher so they can really see it.
I know, but I don't want to cover up my drawing.
Yeah, but it's hard to see.
This guy, this little rainbow guy, he's gorgeous. This was the inspiration from mine that I did for my sample.
Which is not to be seen.
Here's just a plain green one. Ooh, here's a beautiful one. Check that guy out. Does that give you guys some ideas? I bet you guys have even more ideas than I do. And of course, there's different varieties of chameleons. Some of them have this veil on their head, known as a rainbow chameleon or a veiled chameleon. Okay? How's everybody doing with their drawing?
I decided not to use pencil on my leaves because they're looser.
Oh, she's gonna do her leaves without using a pencil first. I'm gonna move this up here because people can't see it anyway. All right, how are you guys doing? Oh, they live in warm habitats, Miss Kathy says, that range from rainforests to deserts.
That's interesting.
That is. You guys could, those that are, since we're all homeschoolers now, maybe do this part and then do a little project about chameleons.
You can write a bunch of facts on the back of the paper.
Oh, that's a good idea. Keep your facts on the back of the paper.
I'm not saying we should do it, but yes.
Okay.
Okay, I finished.
You guys caught up? Give me thumbs up if you're caught up. And remember, these are going to get saved, so you can always just watch the replay and then take advantage of the pause button. All right, so I'm getting lots of hearts and thumbs up, so good job, guys. I can't wait to see chameleons. Now we get to do the fun painting part. So with watercolor, we're gonna paint different sections at a time so that they can dry in between. The first section we're gonna do is this background here. And so I want you to think about just a little bit about what colors you may use for your chameleon. So here's a little color wheel, and chameleons are bright and vibrant and colorful, so I want to take advantage of that by using complementary colors. And so you can see on my sample here, one of his main colors is yellow. And so I thought, oh, what color is gonna make yellow look its best? So I came to my color wheel and I found the yellow, and I'm gonna jump directly across and I land on purple. And that means that yellow is the complementary color of purple. So when they're complementary colors, they're gonna make each other look their best because they complement. Hey, you look awesome when you hang out next to me. They say nice things to each other. They make each other look really good.
Doesn't sound very nice. Hey, you look great standing next to me.
Well, you know, complementary colors, they feel their best when they're next to each other, so. Okay, so for this chameleon, I might do a little bit more of some greens. And so if I'm gonna go greens and jump to my complementary color for green, I'm gonna come over here in this pink and red range, okay? So I'm gonna do my background in those colors today. Or if I wanted to do blue, I could come over here to oranges. Maybe it's sunset in the background. So just kind of think about those things or just use your imagination. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do our background first. My older two just came in for their run. Now they're gonna do the rest of their workout. So if you hear any grunting, hopefully they can do it somewhat quietly. All right, so I'm gonna come into my background with some pinks, and I don't have a lot of pink. I have these beautiful reds. Maybe I'll just...
You can use some of mine too.
I'm gonna go with oranges. I know, I keep changing my mind. So I'm first gonna kind of come in here with my brush and lay down some water. See how I'm kind of going around, and I tinted it a little bit so you guys can see it. I'm gonna come around in my background and paint it with that water. Come in between all these little parts. And then I'm gonna touch some orange and dab it into those water spaces. And you're just gonna kind of bleed. I'm gonna add some more water over here. And we're doing the background first so it can have a chance to dry, and then we can work on our other spaces. But I'm not only gonna drop in orange. I want it to be interesting. So I like to say nothing is one color. So I dropped in some orange. Now I'm gonna just drop in some yellow. And then maybe I will drop in a little bit of this red here too. And the reason I'm choosing those colors is because they're right next to each other on this color wheel. So I know they'll blend and bleed nicely together. And they'll look good together. Let's come in here under here and put some of this red in. Do we have any questions, Jilly, on there? I'm gonna come in here, don't forget this.
How important is erasing the pencil marks?
It's not that important. It really depends on how dark you've been drawing. That's the biggest thing, because sometimes they'll show through, especially if you're gonna use a mild color with your watercolor. Does that help? Any other questions?
I think that's the only one.
Okay. Does that help you, Mary Kim? Are you painting along with us today? And see how those are kind of blending and bleeding. So Jilly wants to show you hers. She's using purples and blues.
And pinks.
And some pink, because they're all kind of next to each other on the color wheel, which are called analogous colors. They like to hang out together. They blend well. All right, so now I need to come over here. We are painting along, and I'm only doing smaller sections of water as I go. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, because then by the time I get there with my water, it will have dried up.
If you don't think that something blends too well, you can always put a little bit of water on it and it'll blend right in.
That's true. I actually really like these Crayola. They're really nice and vibrant. They have a beautiful red, which is kind of hard to find in an inexpensive set.
The $5 one doesn't even have red, so.
Well, it has a version of red, but it's not a vibrant color. And I prefer this to Michael's one. Michael's is a bit chalky also. Come down here. Oh, yay. Mary Kim says she's playing along with us, and she's got all these supplies and never used them. I am sure you are not alone, Mary Kim. I am a collector of supplies as well, but thankfully I've been able to use them more with my current teaching and stuff, which is super fun.
Tanner said, no, you always say texture.
I haven't said texture once, Tanner. Not once. But since you mention it, see this beautiful texture and color I'm getting up here, Tanner? Tanner is my little art friend, and he knows how much Miss Christie loves texture in her art. And so I like to say it extra for him, because he gives me a little cute little side eye. Are you working on, is your teacher giving you some schoolwork, guys? Those that are out of school?
Bucket loads.
Jilly's getting bucket loads, she feels like. My teenagers have gotten nothing yet, barely, but good thing I'm resourceful. I have come up with things for them to do to keep their brains busy. So, all right. I got that section done.
Oh, wow.
So I'm loving all these, like, see all these different, as they're blending, those are called blooms. I love all that. That's one of the magical things about watercolor. You kind of have to just let it do its thing. It wants you to just let go, and you can't have a ton of control over it, just knowing what colors blend together and what doesn't blend together, and that way, I've got a bunch of water there. I'm gonna let that bleed, and I'm gonna show you how you can fix a little mistake even.
That's what I got down here.
If you go out of the lines a little bit. Because there's no mistakes in art. Just happy accidents, right?
That looks cool. Can we use rubbing alcohol?
You can. Okay, so now that I've got my background, this will be a good opportunity. If you have got your background filled in, this would be a good opportunity to add some more texture. So I'm going to clean off my brush. And we've got two different supplies that we can add texture. I cleaned my brush, and I'm going to put a little bit of this rubbing alcohol into my
And I'll use salt.
cap. I don't know if yours is wet enough. You do need it to be wet for these
I can wet it.
These techniques to work. And mine is still nice and juicy. So I'm gonna clean off my brush, and then I'm gonna dry it on my paper towel, and then I'm just gonna take, if you had Q-tips, you could do that too. And I'm gonna touch, oh, that was a big drop, little spots of alcohol, and you're gonna, oop, see I just spilled some there, but look what's happening. That's pretty cool. I'm gonna touch different areas, and you're gonna notice what's happening. What's it doing, guys, when you touch it with the alcohol? Well, it is pushing the pigment away.
May I have the salt?
If you're using salt, it's going to do a little bit different technique, because the salt is dry and absorbent. It is going to, instead of pushing the pigment away like the alcohol is doing, it's going to absorb that pigment into the crystal and pull it out that way. So the alcohol pushes the pigment, the salt pulls it in, soaks it up. Now I've got all these cool tie-dye spots with my alcohol.
What kind of paper is this on?
I'm using watercolor paper. the Canson that I showed you on the day I went over all the materials. Watercolor will be the most successful on watercolor paper, which you can easily get at on Amazon. Or I know that Michaels has this one, although be careful with Michaels because I only buy it when it's buy one, get one free. Don't do the buy one, get one half off. That is not a deal. Or actually the cheapest place that is in a lot of towns is Walmart. They have this size and it comes with about 30-ish sheets and it is $6 for the container. The blue.
It's under the computer.
Oh, it's under my computer.
Do you want me to get it?
Yep. So I can show you that in just a second. And put my alcohol away so I don't spill it. So now we need to let this background dry so that we can work on these different areas. So, let me grab a paper towel. I might come in just to help encourage it dry. I'm gonna fold my clean paper towel like so and kind of soak up some of these little lakes I've got going on because that was nice and juicy. Another way to make texture, Tanner, is to actually take your paper towel and dab it. That'll give you a cool texture too, and that even helps it dry, but gives you some cool textures going on. Texture. Ooh, I like that a lot. I'm actually gonna do it.
This is the paper that Mom was talking about?
Yeah, so this is my favorite Canson. It's got 30 sheets. It's 140 pounds, so this is a good weight. It is cold pressed, so quick deal on watercolor is that you want it to be at least 90 pounds, but I prefer 140 pounds. And then I love this 9x12 size. Cold press, there's two different kinds. There's cold press and then there's hot press. Cold press is going to be the less expensive. It just means how it's formed when they're making the paper. Hot press, I think about it being ironed because hot press is going to be a much smoother watercolor paper as well. So this is my favorite. I use it for watercolor. I use it for mixed media. I use it for painting with, we used it the other day to paint our gnomes. Acrylic lays really great on these. I even do some of I do my artwork. Here's actually one right here. I do these on heavy watercolor paper as well. So I love it.
Isn't that on canvas?
Mm-mm.
Oh, it looks like it's on canvas.
Nope. Nope. So how's everybody doing with their backgrounds? Are they catching up? This, if you wanted to hurry it up, you could use a hairdryer or put it in front of a fan. Because the reason we want our background to be dry before we move on is because with watercolor, I can just show you, and then I can show you how to fix a mistake. So see how this is wet right here? If I came in with, let's say, blue and painted right here and touched this red that was wet, see what's happening right there? It's bleeding into each other. And these colors blend okay, but we don't really want that. We want it to be dry so that doesn't happen. So I'm going to come in here, I'm like, oh, I made a mistake, and that is okay. I'm going to dry up my blue, and then I'm going to actually use some clean water. I'm going to show you how I can erase this blue mostly. So I'm going to come in with clean water. I'm going to activate that blue.
Heather says we have that.
The paper?
Yeah.
Good. And then see how I just dabbed that up with my paper towel? Coming in with more clear water. Dabbing it out. Just getting it to a point where I know I'm going to come over this with some other color. Don't get too caught up in it, but that's the reason we want it to be dry. And then if I wanted to go ahead and resaturate this red, I could do that. Oh, what? Oh, Jilly just dipped her paintbrush in the salt container. See? All fixed. I could even do it along in all these little areas, but that's getting a little bit persnickety, and we're not going to worry about that. I just wanted to show you how to kind of fix a mistake on watercolor. Okay?
I'm almost done with my salt.
All right.
Gorgeous.
Dry the rest here, giving it some dabs for texture for my tanner. Who else loves texture here? Come on. So have you guys been doing any online field trips? Did I answer your questions okay, Christy? You asked about the paper. Hopefully I answered that. There are some great art museums you can do online field trips to. We have been visiting the Cincinnati Zoo every day. They've been doing a live feature of an animal at their zoo. That's where Fiona, the little hippo, lives. And so mine, this Crayola likes to be a little shiny, so let's see. That's right, Stephanie, texture's the best. Jilly's drying hers, so see, stop for a second. She used salt on hers, see that? Little crystals. And so she's gonna let that dry. She's actually using my little portable fan. And then she'll brush it away when it's all dry, and it'll have a different effect of texture, but it'll be little speckles of white. Okay? Is everybody caught up? Start giving me some thumbs up, some hearts, when you've caught up to me with the background. Let's get this little guy out here. So, I used oranges and yellows in my background. I love the effect with the alcohol. So I'm gonna pull out my color wheel again. And I'm in this area right here. So I think I'm gonna do my chameleon in these blues and greens and aquas this time. Maybe a touch of purple. Purple would be super pretty.
Oh, we're getting a bunch of
Maybe I'll just do a rainbow chameleon. We'll see what happens. All right, so let's get our chameleon painted.
Try and get the space around the chameleon.
Yeah, so Jilly's just trying to dry at least her space where it touches the chameleon so she can paint him. So she's making sure these spots right here are dry, so she can come in and paint her chameleon and not have to be concerned so much with it bleeding into her background, but she can continue without drying everything. Okay, so I'm gonna start off with my head. Again, I'm going to come in here with my water, my clean water. I'm going around my eye. I did not wet that yet. I'm gonna bring in some of this light blue. See, look at that, light blue. If I wanted to make it more vivid, I could do that. And of course, I want to dip in some other blues, not just the one. And then maybe even some of this lime green. That would be pretty. Again, using analogous colors, greens and blues are right next to each other, so I know they're gonna blend really nicely together, make happy colors and make it interesting. I'm avoiding my little scales here. Where's my zoo friend, Heather? What are those things called? The little spiky deal.
I don't know, but please explain how she applied the salt.
Okay, I'll do it right now. So I'll do it on my little guy. So see, my face is wet and it's still wet, so I could take some salt from my little container and just sprinkle it on there. It has to be wet for this effect to work. It will not work if your watercolor is the least bit dry. So I'm just gonna leave it like that, okay?
Then,
so I've got the watercolor that's wet and I've just dropped, and you can already see how that pigment's getting sucked up by that salt. See that? And I'm just gonna leave it, and then I'm gonna come along and start doing the body. And you can tell that the watercolor on the head was wet, because look what's happening. He's bleeding into his body as I put my water, but that's okay. I'm going in with the same colors, so.
And then Emma asked, what is the music in the background?
Oh, I'm not playing music, Emma. That is Summer. She has her earphones on, but she was adjusting what she was doing, and so you were hearing the overplay. You got some good ears there, Emma girl. Oh, one of the girls on my live heard your music. When you were standing here at the island, it was really loud. It's okay. Emma has super duper ears. She has to know everything that's happening. So I'm coming along. I'm going around my legs right now because I may want to do them a little bit of a darker color. Did that answer your question, Mary Kim?
Take some of this. That looks reddish. I'm going to try and do a little rainbow.
I'm just kind of doing a bluish green one.
I'm doing rainbow.
Okay.
Water.
Here we go. Bringing it around. Because I think I might do a contrasting color on his spikes. That's why I'm leaving them dry. More water, bringing it down.
Yes, it answered Mary Kim's
Okay,
question.
Good. My friend Mary Kim, so she was a business partner of mine all the way back when I lived in Chicago when my husband was in school. And it was when scrapbooking, well, scrapbooking is still big for some places, but I used to teach at a place that she did as well. And then we started a business doing scrapbooks for people. And it was super fun. And now she has an amazing old Victorian house in, I don't remember, somewhere outside of Chicago. What's the name of the town, Mary Kim? Beautiful little town, amazing. And she does retreats at this house that she lives at. She has this big old scrapbooking room. I know she's held sewing retreats. What other kind of retreats have you had? Maybe you need some art retreats, Mary Kim.
You could come on.
Oh, Jilly thinks I need to come do them at Mary Kim's place. Oh, Sycamore. So, if you're familiar with Chicago area, it's a cool place. Beautiful. It's the paper doll house. Our business was the paper garden, right? I'm losing my mind. Can't remember. So I just put some more salt there. Did you see that? While it was still wet, made sure. Kind of looks like a cool earth.
She said, oh yeah, pack your bag, girls.
Yeah, Jilly and I are a package deal, I think. Are we?
Yeah. And the Memory Book Studio.
Oh, the Memory Book Studio. That's right. So I have always had my foot in the creative arena. I used to do some designing for some scrapbooking companies using their product. I would design layouts using their product for ads and for their design books and stuff. It was super fun. And during the day, I worked at an animal hospital. because that's my other love. That's actually what my degree is in, veterinary science as a nurse. All right, going in on this tail. And maybe we'll do some stripes too once we get him dry. I'll show you how you can kind of do a glaze over. Should we do that? But it has to be dry.
I'm gonna do the alcohol thing from my chameleon.
Oh, cute. Show your rainbow chameleon, Jilly. I'm gonna come in here with some of this.
This is my rainbow chameleon. It has
yep, tell about it.
Oranges, yellows, and greens, and a little aquamarine here. And then there's the blue and purple here. So it goes red.
Yep, and she was very careful not to put, like she didn't put the orange next to the purple because she knew that would make mud. So she kind of worked her way around the color wheel, making sure that only the colors
I think I'm gonna add
that she knew would blend well would work. I'm coming in here with a little bit of this.
More of this lime green though because
I'm gonna put some navy on his belly.
Doesn't.
And now I need to paint his little arms.
I think I'm gonna do my arms purple. That would look good. Purple arms.
All right.
Ooh.
So I'm letting, I need my salt for his tail. I'm gonna let his body dry a little bit. Now I'm gonna work on these leaves because I know the sections next to them are totally dry. Putting down a little bit of water.
I have all these different green varieties.
You do?
So I'm loaded and loaded.
Yeah, she's got some pretty turquoises and on her palette. How's everybody doing out there? I'm not going to do any kind of texture on my leaves.
Do you want to see if they want to do pictures?
What do you mean?
Like, take pictures and send them to us.
Oh yeah, we'll tell them. They will. Jilly wants you guys to send us pictures of your art projects when you're done, so we can see them. Maybe we'll do Friday. I will make a little slideshow of all my artists everywhere of their artwork. That means you have to send it, Mary Kim. She was not wanting me to see her artwork the other day. See how pretty my napkin is becoming?
My napkin's getting pretty too.
My kids, there's a couple kids in my class on Wednesday mornings, younger homeschoolers. They love to take home the dry paper towels and use them for art projects, which is a fantastic idea. There are artists that do that a lot.
It's gonna be yellow.
They're great for collage, like a painted paper. So save those paper towels. Some other things I was thinking about, like doing some other fun ideas would be if you guys have any magazines laying around, or even, you know, here in Vacaville, we have a Vacaville magazine that everybody gets. Like we get Ulta ads, those kinds of things. Save those and we will do a project using magazines.
I have.
Maybe next week.
Oh, never mind. One more.
Okay. Getting my leaves all done.
One more to go.
I like these Crayolas. I haven't used them as
They're
much
very
as I
pretty.
wish I had.
I'm done.
You're done?
Yep.
Let's see your leaves over here. So there's Chili's coming along. So the next thing we need to do, which again, we're waiting for my chameleon to dry. We need to do this branch. Oh, I never did his feet.
I did.
I did not. Let me do his legs real quick.
Oh, I did mine different.
I'm gonna do them kind of dark. And I also kind of want to bring in some color into his eye. Like you know how you were talking about their eyes can look in all different directions, and those are pretty colorful as well with the scales.
I'm gonna make my eyes blue. It's all like mixed and matched.
Okay. You can go ahead and do that if it's dry around it.
Yep. I'm gonna do it now.
Maybe I'll put blue in mine too. Just kind of getting some of this paint off of here. Mine is so nice and juicy. I'm gonna put some blue up here for his eye.
Oh my goodness.
And some of that green's bleeding in there, but I actually like that because that's actually how the eye would look on a chameleon. So now we could, I had the little fan so I can dry this so we can trek on along. I'm gonna take a little drying, especially where I need things to be painted next to it.
Tanner says, I like art.
I like art too, Tanner. Maybe that's why we're such good buddies. We both love art. So this little fan, I love it. I carry it in my to-go thing when I do workshops. I have a few of them.
Oh,
So
my
people
eyebrow.
can, well, Jilly's having a bleed over there. She's gonna fix it. No, it's just happy accident. Adding more texture. Hello, Miss Moore. Say hi to Miss Moore.
Hi, Miss Moore.
We are painting chameleons, learning some watercolor technique. We did a guided drawing. Maybe some of our artists out there did some other sort of animal. We're gonna wait and see what everybody shows us. We learned how to use isopropyl alcohol in the background to make some texture, and then I'm drying him right now. I put some salt on here for texture. I'm kind of gonna dry his edges so that I can move into another section.
And I'm old-fashioned blowing it with my mouth.
All right. I'm impatient. All right, I'm gonna just do the edges like this.
May I have the fan? Please.
Using that paper towel for a little texture on my edges that I want to go ahead and do. So I like that too, and you can see here what's happening. See that right there? The little starbursts where the salt is absorbing the pigment from the paint and leaving a white spot. That's some cool texture. But I'm not going to brush my salt off until the very end when it's really dry, because then it'll kind of defeat the purpose. I'm going to come in right here too. All right, so now I need to do my branch. If you have a brown, you could do that. I'm gonna give him some water. Bring in some brown, because you can see how it starts off light. It's always best with watercolor to start off light, and you can continue to add pigment to get to the color you want, because it's you have to think the opposite of acrylic. So in watercolor, you have to think from light to dark, where acrylic is usually building dark to light. So our next project, maybe we will work with some soft pastels, which if you do not have soft pastels, they have a great inexpensive set at Michael's for $5. That one actually works. I'm not a fan of all of their stuff that's on the $5 rack, but their oil pastels are great. Their watercolors work decent.
Oh, I forgot a part in the background. I forgot 2 parts.
Oh, well, now you better fill them in. And, or if you have like sidewalk chalk, that would work. It just wouldn't be as vibrant. If you have just colored chalk, that would work. So I'm going to come in here and make this a little bit darker. And then I'm going to show you how I like to make a shadow on something like this. So I'm filling it in all brown. Getting more paint.
I'm a step ahead of you.
Did you? I want mine darker. Doesn't want to be darker. Yeah, I'm just building it up.
I have this mossy green color that I'm using.
And so now that I have my brown, I want to come in with a color for a shadow. You can see on my sample up here, I came in with purple and blue. That's a great color to use, like we talked about even with our crayons the other day for shadows, because it's a cool color. So I'm going to come in here and let it mix with my brown, which is going to dull it some. But that way our shadow is interesting. Not just black. You notice in my palettes, the ones I use in the studio, I take the black away. Because I want the kids and even the adults to learn that black is just such a flat color to me. It doesn't have a lot of character and interest. There is definitely a place for it in some art, but I like them to think about different colors to use. I'm going to dab in some navy, too, in this branch. I'm going to dab in some darker. Why is my brown not wanting to be brown today? Okay.
Do you have red on your brush?
Nope.
We'll take a warm brown.
All right, there we go. That'll be good. That's fine. All right, so the last thing I need to do is my spikes. How's everybody coming along? Oh, you're welcome. I'm glad your little one loved it. Your daughter. We're almost done. So what color should I make my spikes?
I think it would look good as like yellow or...
I was thinking yellow and lime. Because I do have some little spots that I need
I'm going to do orange.
I'm going to do lime. And some yellow. I have too much water on my brush, so I'm just going to dab my paper towel and pull it across. There. Here we go. Covering up these other spots that I kind of bled in here with that orange.
Orange looks good.
Yep, yours does look good with the orange next to that purple background.
So you only used orange once?
Here we
Should
go.
I show mine?
Jillia's going to show hers for a sec.
This is mine.
Very nice. Is your background dry yet?
Not, no.
I'm gonna drop in some yellow.
Oh, I forgot a part. See-doo.
I'm gonna make his ones up here just yellow.
Okay.
All right. Maybe a touch of green.
Blake, Lexi, and Skyly, I hope I pronounced that right, say thank you, they had so much fun.
Oh, you're welcome. Yep, looks like Skyly. Do we say that right? Blake, Lexi, and Skyly, thanks for joining us. We had super fun too. So basically this is it. Now we just need to wait for it to dry. Maybe I'll dab some of this purple. And I like that texture. And then when it's dry, I will brush off all this salt. And then I can post the final. How's everybody else doing? You have any questions? How's your project coming? Ooh, lots of wows. Oh, I saw a laugh. Somebody's crying. No crying. We don't cry in art. Maybe that was an accident. Who's crying? No mistakes. Remember we talked about Bob Ross the other day. No mistakes in art. Just happy accidents. We'll turn it into something else.
Like you could have.
So I will edit this video since I'm getting to know my technology better. That's been a good thing. Oh, we didn't do thankful. What are we thankful for today about being locked up at home, Jilly?
I'm thankful because we have time to do a lot of stuff like band practice and eating.
Eating. I'm thankful to be able to eat at home too. I'm thankful that I'm actually learning more technology related to my business, and I'm able to catch up on some computer stuff that I haven't had time. We've been spending time together. We have been eating dinner together every night. All my kids do a sport, so that is a huge thankful. We don't get that every night of the week. Okay?
Stephanie says, thank you so much, Miss Christie. And she also says we will send pictures when they are dry.
Awesome. Yes, everybody post pictures when they're dry on my page. We're going to have an art parade on Friday. I'll make a project parade tomorrow. Next project will be using soft pastels, I think. So, all right, everyone. You have a great day. Bye.